My name is Pastor Hal York, and welcome to Truth in the Trenches. Today we're going to be in Proverbs chapter 24, verse 27. Prepare your work outside, get everything ready for yourself in the field, and after that, build your house. This is obviously an interesting proverb. It's also a very important one as well, as we'll see, I hope. But the principle it sets forth is quite simple. Put first things first. The analogy it uses is that of farming, but it holds true, obviously, in many aspects of life and family. Prepare your work outside. Prepare your land. Do the prep work to get the field ready for harvest, then sow the crop in the field. Get everything ready for yourself. Make preparations. Do the work it takes to get ready to plant, and then sow. This could carry the aspect of even speculating the income that crops will produce based on crops before that. Obviously, farming, you can't be precise. But you have some idea as you look at the speculative price on things that you're planting. Then he says, after that, he says, build your house. But build it after you have made provision on the farm to support that house and the family. I think it would go without saying that this is a wise principle to follow. It's really just common sense. But sadly today, people don't seem to do the first part or don't do the second part or do them in reverse order. They build a house, the house they've dreamed of. Then they try to find a way to pay for the building and all the upkeep of the house. They try to find a job that will make it possible to live in that house after they've already built it. And they become slaves to that house. They become house poor, to coin a phrase. If they have just been wise, prudent, and disciplined with their decisions, they could have enjoyed the house they built based on not what their desires wanted, but based on what they could afford, based on the speculation of the crops and so on, what they would produce. That's why the prep work in this verse is so important. If you remember a few years ago when banks appeared to be willing to lend seemingly anybody any amount of money to build or buy a house, their dream house, it bankrupted a lot of people. Just because they could get the money does not mean they could have afford to pay back the money that they borrowed for the house. Any small change in their house, a baby, one spouse loses a job, a car breaks down, and they have no means to pay for anything extra. Life is filled with extras, as we know. And when you don't have any means to handle those extras, it can become a real problem. The older generation, I think, understood this principle far better than the young people do today. If you ask an older person where the first house they lived in was like, what it was like, or where they lived when they were first married, it probably wasn't the house of their dreams. But over time, they were able to save. Incomes began to increase through promotions and so on, and they upgraded as time and funds allowed. But the other side of this verse is that some people, that's all they do is prepare the field. They get everything ready for themselves, but they never build. They never marry because they are so consumed with getting and amassing wealth that they don't want to settle down and marry and build a home and family. You see this especially in men, young men. Granted, the home and the marriage and family all reduce the money you can spend on yourself, but you've done the work. Now it's time not to build bigger barns, but to build your house and start a family, if God permits. Statistics show that people are getting married much later in life than it used to be the case. Yes, it's good to get your ducks in a row before you build your house, but it doesn't mean it's wrong to marry or to build a family. This verse says you should, if the providence of God makes it possible, build a house, start a family. Life is about more than getting everything ready for yourself. That's wise, but that does not mean that the whole of your life should revolve around yourself, and you just live for yourself for the rest of your life. This could apply to marriage as well. Before you get married, do your pre-marriage preparation. Take some classes. Prepare from the outside of the home for what's going to take place inside the home. Beginnings are important. Foundations are important. Budgets and planning, financial planning are important. Living within your means is important. Disciplined spending is important. Realistic expectations are important. Life is not about the abundance of the things one possesses. We need to remember that as we think about building our home. Remember Proverbs 17:1? Better is a dry morsel and quietness with it than a house full of feasting with strife. When you dig down into verse 27, 24, the verse we've been looking at, that's what this proverb is driving at. Prepare your work outside. Get everything ready for yourself on the land, and after that, build your house. Prepare. Better is a dry morsel and quietness with it than a house full of feasting with strife. You may not build the house of your dreams, but you build a house you can afford. You've prepared your land. You've prepared everything you need. And now you can begin to build that family in that home that God wants you to have. May this truth guide us and guard us in the trenches of life as we seek to live our lives for the glory of God and the good of others. May God bless.